Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa Double Trouble Wednesday for sure. But we're doing one show on error, and then the second show today we are doing on solutions, and we're talking about spiritual protection, which I think in this day and age, and where the times we're finding ourselves in, super duper important. So join us it is now 2:30 in South Africa. So 2 hours from now, which makes it 4:30. So wherever you are in the world, 2 hours from now, we will be on Solutions with Shanti. And we're going to be obviously chatting with Jessie. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you all in the chats. But before I bring Jessie on to be chatting about P. Diddy and the baby oil, wow. I mean, I think that was such a hot topic on everyone's lips a few months ago or a year ago, whenever it was. Time goes so fast. I don't even know when these things happen anymore. But yeah, I mean, from little snippets of conversations I'm having with Jessie, there's a lot more to it with this baby oil story. So stay tuned. And for now, let's just pop up the schedule for the week. Okay, so Tuesday, didn't have a show on Monday. Bev was not here. So Beverly Rhodes was on Tuesday, and we spoke about her second 2 cycles off-world in her experience in the SSP. She speaks a lot about human tissue harvesting and auctioning as well, which happens there, and just the amount of human beings actually being trafficked off-world is quite phenomenal. So catch that show if you haven't. Very interesting. And guys, also, for those of you who catch my shows with Beverly, she's going to be taking a few weeks off. She just needs a bit of a break right now. And also, she's just finishing some of her books and courses and stuff like that. So, yeah. We will be seeing her in a few weeks from now. And of course, today with Jessie. Tomorrow in the field with Shanti on Solutions, we're talking about the hive mind and the natural hive mind as God intended, and the flipped hive mind as we are currently experiencing it in this expression of power and control, and what we really need to be doing just to restore the balance to the original hexagonal geometry of, let's just call it for now, this planet. So we're going to be chatting about that tomorrow. Then, of course, rerun with Dr. Dennis Carroll tomorrow night. And then, of course, Solutions with Shanti on Friday, and on Ara, Drop In with Shanti. We're having a look at sequel to the Cabal, the Rothschilds. We're actually doing 2 episodes, 1 and 2, just the history of the Rothschilds, where they come from, how they've infiltrated. It gives us a little bit of an idea of what we're dealing with and how long this has been going on. Super interesting. So grab your chai and put your legs up and your feet up for that one, and let's hang out for a while. And then, of course, hopefully Leo Zagami. We haven't confirmed that yet on Friday night, but let's hope he's there. Then, of course, Saturday, the Rehum, and then Sunday as well, the Sunday Loop. But then at 4 o'clock, South African time, I think that's 9 a.m. Eastern time, we're doing the Patreon and members book club on Zoom. So any members, YouTube members, please let us know via email if you want to join, and Mornay will send you the link for the book club. Patreons, you will automatically get the link on Patreon. We're talking about the Book of Enoch, which is super duper interesting. So join us for that. And without any further ado, she's here, the one you've come to hear.
Wow.
Ta-da, Madame.
Hello. Yes.
So, how are you?
Great. I love hearing everything that you have coming up. Always such interesting things. And I do encourage people, I know I enjoyed this past week doing the show with Dennis Carroll, and we always have such great conversations. But
You and Dennis really, really are good together. And I would love to have you and him on for more of these kind of folklore
yeah, we should plan stuff like
because,
that. Yeah.
yeah, you both complement each other so well. He's such a not only researched man, but, his experience as a police officer and dealing with matters of the occult as well gives him that first-hand experience of what he's dealt with,
Yeah.
and his research. And he's a really super interesting guy, Dennis Carroll.
Yeah,
So if
very
you guys
he
haven't watched,
articulates the topic very
yes,
well, and pulls out,
indeed.
um I appreciate, like, in the conversation, it's like he pulls on that experience and makes it very applicable and relatable for people. Um, something that's a very difficult to understand because you're talking things that engage with the spiritual world and the demonic. And a lot of times what we get is things that are very scholarly that aren't necessarily understandable, and he has a way of articulating it that really brings it home. You're like, wow, this could be happening in my backyard, or these could be my neighbors. And we often think of it way beyond us, but he brings it to, no, this is what is around us, and it's in the midst of us, and we need to open our eyes and be aware, and yet not give up our authority in the Lord, and know where we stand spiritually.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that was very good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely have more of those with you and Dr. Dennis because that was a great show, really was. So if you guys haven't caught that show last week with Jesse and Dr. Dennis on vampires and folklore, werewolves, and just this dark folklore, I guess,
Yeah,
which
that's a
is
good word for
not
it.
really, yeah, exactly. I just said it for the first time, dark folklore. And
Yeah.
I think that really that's a category on its own because not all folklore is dark. It's, history.
Right.
Um, but
Well,
yeah,
dark
of course,
folklore
the
is
dark,
history too, but
yeah,
yeah.
just dark, exactly.
Like, you got
Right.
your grim fairy tales, and then you got your grim fairy tales.
Listen,
That
that's actually
don't
a
know
great
that.
show to do is the Grimm fairy
Fairy
tales. In
tales we
fact, I think
should,
Mornay
because
was,
they're so dark.
yeah, and the origins of that. So, guys, how do you feel about doing, yeah, dark folklore history to Grimm fairy tales? So we're going to
Yeah.
be doing a show on the Grimm fairy tales because I think these things are so important to know. I always bought a copy of the Grimm fairy tales as a kid. I can't remember who bought it for me, but I just remember I'm not reading that.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
they looked way too creepy for me. I remember reading about Blackbeard actually.
Mm.
Was it Blackbeard or Bluebeard? About the guy that had all these women and he like killed all these women.
I think it was
I
I
can't
think it
even
was
remember.
Bluebeard. I think it's Bluebeard. I remember
Yes.
that story too, yeah. But there are so
Oh,
many, like, it's yeah.
that's just as we're speaking about it now. That's the one that suddenly popped up in my. I actually forgot about that gruesome
Yeah.
story, but it must have had a hell of an effect on me. Hell being the operative
Yeah.
word because I just remember this guy murdering all these women, thinking, "How is this a fairy tale?" Anyway,
Right? You're like, "Where's the princess ending?" I know, like, I
yes,
mean, they were so haunting, like, I was haunted by those, and particularly the Snow White, Rose Red ones, like, those ones were read to me all the time, and, especially in connection we'll get into it, the bears, the years, and the Urusei, you get a lot of folklores with stuff, but it'll be a great show. So we'll do
yeah, I
that
think
next
that's a
week, give
great one.
people something to look
Yeah,
forward to.
exactly. But now, before we go ahead, do you have any announcements?
I
Anything,
do.
any that you
Yeah,
up to before?
since we're talking history, folklore, all of that stuff, traditions. That made me think of traditions, but I've been doing a really extensive series, not too deep. Like I want it to be brief. I want people to be able to kind of wrestle with the topic. But I've been doing a series, The Theology of the Eucharist. And you get a lot of believers that partake in the communion, the bread, the wine. So I get into the different views of that. You've got, some churches that celebrate it as an act of remembrance, others that believe in consubstantiation. And then you have those that believe in transubstantiation, which is that the elements, the bread and the wine, literally become the body and the blood of Christ when you partake in communion. So I get into where the beliefs stem from, kind of who kind of made them famous, and scriptures that either support or contradict those views. And so that series you can find on my Kingdom Living TV, along with I did a few episodes with communion. So I encourage people. I talk about where you can get communion or how to make your own at home. So that's a really great series. And then I also have coming up February 17th, the next International Land Assignment Decode. We're going to get into Ireland, Dublin, Switzerland, Tours, France, decoding those areas. I encourage people as we get into the Ireland and the Dublin one to go back and watch Shanti and I's episode in the Mormon series on Shambhala, because we cover what's underground in that Dublin area in that episode. So then I also have, because I had to reschedule and move this workshop, there's still time to sign up, but I encourage people to sign up for the Queen of Heaven episode, or I'm sorry, workshop. It's March 12th and 19th from 7 to 10 p.m. I'm going to get into that. If you've wondered about the Mary statues, how the Catholic Church uses the image of the Mother Mary, we're going to dive into that. Why do some churches show her as a virgin while others will show her with the baby Jesus? Have you ever wondered why the baby Jesus is on different sides, either her left or her right? The different veils that are presented between the Virgin, the Mother, and then you get the older Mary where literally, it's like a folded in headdress. Why do they display her the different ways? What are the meanings and how does that connect to the system, and what are they communicating through that? So we're going to get into, some upper level decoding in that, and how they use their veneration of Mary. And again, this is nothing against, the real woman. She really was an amazing woman, favored by God, yet there's something more nefarious that the Catholic Church does with her image. So we'll get into that.
Oh,
Yeah.
super interesting. Catholic Church.
We'll go ahead and
They're always
pray.
under
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because you get, it's something so dear. People grow up, really embracing the goodness and the values. There's, they really use it to connect with your personal ethics, your morals, your spirituality. And then, as children are, raised in this system, they really, experience that duality. On the one hand, in your cover life, everything about it is good and holy and has a form of godliness, but then you see all the evil and the wicked that's done behind the scenes with it. And, once people know and see, it can't be unseen. And it's difficult to deal with that, because it's at the core of your faith and what you believe. So, but it's something, we need to know, we need to be able to address it. And I think in that there's value. So let's go ahead and pray. Lord, we thank you for this place, this time where we can spend together, Lord, where we can come into your presence. And we thank you that you are a God who's with us. You are a God who hears and sees, and you see all the darkness, you see all the evil. You also see all the people sitting in that darkness. We thank you that wherever there is darkness, that even there your light shines. And we thank you for platforms like this where your light shines, Lord, where we can come and we can hear the truth, we can conversate, we can discuss the harder issues together, Lord. And we ask that you would bless our time together, bless the show, bless our technology, our airwaves, and our equipment, and those who host this platform. In your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Jessie.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your prayers. Thank you so much. And that was so
you.
lovely. We appreciate you very much. Thank you. And we
Same.
appreciate our beautiful viewers as well.
We
and
do.
really appreciate that you guys have joined us today. And without, I just want to see, we have a new member. The Truth, there we go. Thank you so much. The Truth Shiv Shakti. Appreciate you very much becoming a member on YouTube. And by the way, guys, just another little quick thing that I forgot to mention, although that'll come on next week's announcements. On the 3rd of February, which is next week, Tuesday, Guy Anderson also going to be doing a book club with us on Tartaria and the Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. So also members and Patreons got some really great information coming through right now with fantastic experts. I mean, Jessie, you've been on this channel for 5.5 years. And, I'm just loving as well this, I want to say new people, but new being a relative term. But like people like Guy Anderson, who has clearly studied these topics upside down, inside out, all the way around, and has some such valuable information to share with us as well. So join us for that, And then, of course, we have you somewhere down the line with another membership show. And that's actually why we were late today, by the way, everybody. We were discussing how we were going to do that, because there's the next Harry Potter decode that we're doing. So we were trying to figure out if we could do it, actually watch the movie together on Zoom. Because of copyright issues, we can't do it live. So wondering, how that can work if we watch the movie together on Zoom.
Yeah.
And then in the next episode, we could do the decode. So we all get our popcorn and our Harry Potter squealy jellies, the ones that scream when you bite them.
That's horrible.
I know, right? It's like,
this is a real thing. There really are little witchy children out there. I mean, I hate to say it, but there are. Like I've had to deal with them, as well as schools. They can tell stories. Some of your people can tell stories about it, but these things are real. So it's crazy.
I know. I'm sorry. And I don't mean.
So you just feel this tummy, and it's like. Sounds like a wailing voice, and you're like, sorry.
How do you ever eat a gummy again after that? I mean, I'll have PTSD forever. That'll cure me of my sugar addiction, that's for sure.
Right? Help me.
Exactly.
Great idea. I mean, we could do it. You know how many people we could cure sugar addiction.
Just watch them eat
Oh
screaming jellies.
no! Screaming
Oh
jelly.
my
We
word.
gotta make it a thing.
Screeching. Screeching is more appropriate. Yeah, like in that
Right? I
situation,
mean, if
I'd
it
be
was like
screeching, that's for
screaming
sure.
bloody murder, you wouldn't be able
Yeah,
to finish
exactly.
it.
How funny. Mm.
Oh,
Anyway, wonderful. Well, on a topic that,
right? It's really so somber.
yeah, is probably quite screechy as well on
Yeah.
some level because goodness me, is obviously P. Diddy with the baby oil story. I mean, there were so many hundreds of memes going around on Facebook and everywhere else about P. Diddy and the
Yeah.
baby oil, and everyone was like really laughing about it and one. And I mean, we think the obvious, well, baby oil kids, maybe, there's an association there. Um, huh.
I think we don't
But
think of the
ob-
logistics of it. It's like they just put it out there that in all these cupboards, they found thousands of bottles of baby oil along with other forms of lubricant. So just think of this like, our first thought, because they combine it together, is that it's a lubricant, you know, but is that really what it is? Is that really what this is all about? And do we really think that they're luring all these people, say, oh, come get a massage and be a part of this party? Um, we're really blindsided if that's what we're thinking it's all about. Um, I was looking through, so I want to read some of the news releases on it because there's some interesting things that come out from those. So here's some of the Google and the different news releases. Based on federal indictments, search warrants, and testimony from the 2024 raids on Sean Diddy Combs' homes, authorities discovered an overwhelming amount of baby oil and lubricant, estimated at over 1,000 bottles combined. Now, I wouldn't take 1,000 bottles necessarily as an overwhelming amount, but that's an interesting word that they use. It says prosecutors allege these were used to facilitate coerced sexual performances known as freak-offs. And then another one said during the March 2024 raids on properties in Los Angeles and Miami, federal agents found large quantities of baby oil and Astroglide lubricant stashed in closets. One agent testified that 25 bottles of baby oil and 31 bottles of lubricant were found in a single Miami closet, while another testified to finding hundreds more in Los Angeles. So they broadened the area, of where things were found. Another prosecutors allege that the baby oil was part of the freak-off supplies used in elaborate and produced sex performances. So there, all of a sudden, now we're bringing in that there's some sort of sexual performance, whether that's, pornography, whether that's prostitution, they don't
oil
define.
wrestling.
Yeah, they don't define what that all is. Um, and then another says, following the raids, a lawsuit filed by the accuser on October 2024 alleged that the baby oil found in the homes was mixed with date rape drugs, such as GHB, to make victims easier to assault. But here it gets worse. Listen to this one. Um, after after his September 2024 arrest at the New York hotel, additional evidence photos showed a Ziploc bag filled with baby oil and lubricant in a hotel room closet, along with drugs like ketamine and MDMA. Now, ketamine, let's look at that real quick, and then we'll talk about this. Ketamine is a dissociative anesthetic. What are anesthetics used for? They're used for surgical operations, literally to knock people
Numbing.
out. It makes you, so it says it distorts perception of sight and sound, makes the user feel disconnected and not in control. It's short acting, injectable. It can be used on humans and animals. It's referred to as the dissociative anesthetic, and it can induce a state of sedation, feeling calm and relaxed, immobility, relief from pain, and amnesia, so no memory of events under the drug. And it also can be used to facilitate sexual assault. So think of that. If this baby oil is laced with other things. But here's where we get into dark side of the system. I've talked about, the adrenochrome. I've talked about how they procure their own special hybrid drugs, how they would use natural hormones, chemicals found in the body. Like when they do the adrenal for the hierarchy, it's common they'll use, you know, hormones from the pineal gland, and in that it will heighten the spiritual acuity, and it just gives your body more than you would naturally produce. So that's how they use that. But are there other things that they put in there besides, ketamine or other things that are going to be natural to the body? And I'm curious. I don't think they even test for those things to see if there's any hormones, um, for the body in this baby oil, but I would presume there is, because in sex magic, they're going to use things like that. Um, but then, the other thing that they never get into is they just tell you some of the things that were in it, but they never tell you what was in the baby oil. Where does the oil come from? Um, can they guarantee that that's an almond oil? It's a light oil. Your only oil that's light like that is your almond oil. But I would propose it's not almond oil. I don't think it's plant-based. I think that they get that from children, from babies.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
you get a direct connection in the system. Like I've brought out in my testimony how, um, in connection to some of the evil that they would do, with the pineal glands, you would have, these witches, particularly HRC, who would always, they would set up things where, they're going to have kids come to these events. Like I've never shared this story, the fullness of it, but I've brought out in some of my testimony the things about Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming. And in connection to that, you'd have the governor, um, back in the 80s, Herschler, and his wife, that would have these parties. And they would invite their elite buddies and friends, and you'd have hierarchy kids as well as expendable children there. Now, us hierarchy children, we knew not to eat the stuff that was there, but it's like you'd walk into these beautiful mansions when they'd have these parties, and they would have everything you could imagine that you wanted to eat. Like you're talking, Debbie little cakes, like 100 times better. You're just like, oh my gosh, like it looks so good. And, whatever you could imagine that kids want to eat on top of sodas. I mean, everything is there that your parents won't let you gorge out on. And it's like a gorge out party, and they encourage kids to eat all this stuff, and it's literally like Hansel and Gretel. They want to fatten the kids up, and they'll have several rounds of these parties where the kids think they're special, they're getting to come, they're getting to eat all this stuff, they're gaining weight, they have no idea that these witches intend to do horrific things to them. But, you'll have them then, where it's even much worse because, how do they get the oil then? You've got to produce a lot of fat. And so they're going to purposely be feeding people, whether it's the pregnant mothers, whether it's if they're getting it from certain kids. We're talking small children, toddler age. They're purposely fattening them up for that. And that's part of, what they do. And I think
Can I
that's
just interrupt you there,
yeah.
if you don't mind? Sorry, just in terms of that fattening the kids up and obviously getting them to these parties and things. Now, I have somewhere in my research over the years, it became clear to me that yes, they do use the fat of the kids for whatever. So it's very interesting to me that that what you're saying now is they've made it into baby oil. So, or some type of lubricant oil with all sorts of things in it.
Yeah.
Wow. Who are the kids that are being fattened? Would these be considered expendable kids? Are these
Yeah, they
kids
would
in
be
the
the
system?
expendable
Bred
children,
kids?
some of them. Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, you get an extreme both ways, and people, this is the sad part, is that there's buyers for both. They're going to always be buying, selling, and trading these children for profit. So you actually have people in the system that pay money to fatten these children up. They pay money to hold these parties, these events, or to, when you have the women who are pregnant, they pay money to make sure those women are eating well and to, be eating what they want them to be eating to get the end result that they want. And, they're going to be putting in money for that because they're investing in that outcome. And in that investment, it goes two ways. You've got those that are going to fatten up. You got those that are going to extremely abuse, so that then the end result is the anorexia, the bulimia. So they can even play it both ways. They can, you know, fatten those children up, and then, they're sexually exploiting them, but then they're going to drive them to the point of the anorexia and the bulimia because they want, them to the self-destruction. They want the self-hatred and that struggle, because that's where they get some of their power and control over these children. They'll take it both ways. And even watching the child self-destruct in front of them, so there's just no limit to what those in the system do with this. um we hear things like this. We're like, oh, P. Diddy had all this oil in his closet. But the things that we don't ask is, where is the supply chain and where is the manufacturing happening? Nobody brought out about P. Diddy's connection to manufacturing. All of your kings, those that are considered kings, we've brought out about Bad Bunny putting up things showing he's a king. We brought out things about Epstein. You have Branson. You have a lot of other individuals that are considered, in that trafficking cycle. They're going to be hosting the parties, whether it's on water or land. They're going to be connected to mansions, yachts, different places where they're going to do events and things. But within those locations, there's also going to be connections to their manufacturing factories. Where is the oil made? Are they really using, companies that manufacture baby oil? Or do they have other, companies that they're going through their own, underground manufacturing. I think they have both. Um, and, that's really what we need to investigate and look into. Where is the manufacturing happening? And because with that, that there's going to be, the countless deaths of children. I would even presume that some of these older methods, are taking place near some of the dioceses, the larger Catholic churches that also have the incinerators, because, in connection to that, you're going to get funeral homes, you're going to get things under the graveyards, um,
Is it
and
only kids? Is it only kids that they're after, or would this also be anyone's fat?
they could use older people, or, they could use others, but they could. And does that
So,
connect to some of the things in the hospital system? You know, is
sorry
there
about
a
that.
line through the hospitals or the children's hospitals, that, are connected to this as well? There could be a lot of your older hospitals, there's connections to underground labs through those. Um,
I'm wondering if it's just the kids fat. Okay, I'm just going to call it what it is because it's just so gross for me to even wrap my head around.
yeah.
But is it just the kids fat? Like they would predominantly go for kids adreno, right? But although I know in previous shows we have spoken about that they also take it from the old people, or the homeless and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So they're tapping everyone. And the reason why I'm asking that is because there seems to have been such a drive, and worldwide actually, with this whole junk food,
Mhm.
the quicker you can do it, or, fast meals kind of thing, which automatically creates a society of overweight people if you are
And
not
it's
eating
worse than
proper
that.
food.
It's not just the junk food. Where they're really getting people is with the healthy food. What they're claiming is healthy and organic.
Yes,
Like
is
they're
not.
wanting to feed us the grasshoppers. They're wanting to, they're putting all these natural flavoring things, seasonings in things. Really their market of the vegan and the health foods is part of that poison that they're doing. It's
Yes,
unnatural stuff. It's not
yes,
things our body can digest. And what happens
I
when your
agree.
body can't digest it? It stores it because it doesn't know how to digest it, doesn't know how to get rid of it. And we're getting even unnatural fat in our bodies.
But if we look at that, because there has been such a drive over, let's say, especially the last 30 to 40 years, and I speak more here, and I'm sure in America it's probably been longer, right?
Mhm.
Because I know, as we often speak about the American public, you guys have been under a lot of assault from these
Yeah.
guys on so many levels. So that's why I'm wondering this whole processed food, healthy eating. Now, in my opinion, healthy eating is fresh eating. Okay. You eat
Yeah.
fresh fruit and veggies out of your garden. That to me is, and nothing with a barcode should ever really be consumed. Right. So, what I'm saying is, do you think that this whole processed market has been to drive people to be more overweight, but not just kids? That's why I'm asking, is it only
Yeah.
kids? Adults too, that are, the diet market. Let's look at how huge the diet market is. Lose
Yep.
weight, lose weight, lose weight. How many millions of different kinds of shakes and things are there, right? But at the same time, really freaking with people's heads and their health.
Yeah.
And at the same time, people generally becoming more overweight, actually. I know, you tell me I can't eat, I'm going to eat you out of a house and home. Don't tell me I can't eat. I want to eat. If I want to eat, I want to eat. And as long as I have a choice, 3 days will go by when I don't eat. But if I want to eat, I know I can. I always want that choice, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that, for me, being human is what's so important, is that we have a choice. Some people think they have choices. Like, okay, let's go over from unhealthy to vegan, but not realizing that it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
Yeah.
Unless you yourself are growing your food,
And
preparing
preparing.
it yourself,
Yeah.
and making sure you and your family are healthy. That's really what it boils down to, doesn't it? But anyway,
Right.
as I was saying, I'm interested to know if that's been a push. Why so many people? Because we also know they use reverse psychology.
Yeah.
Let's diet. Look at all these beautiful women wearing Victoria's Secret lingerie, who secretly, I suppose 90% of them are probably male or born male,
Right.
right? So
And
we
don't even have
women
the
are
same
going,
body structure as women. It's like we cannot
exactly.
attain that structure.
And here we go lusting after these boys' bodies. Can you believe it? Like looking for this perfect form, which these
Yeah.
Victoria's Secret models
That's
present to
another
us.
good
And
show. Like you're coming up with great. We should talk about the food in the perfect form.
yes, that's actually
I'm writing
food
it
and
down.
form. Mhm.
But it's so true. Like, what's their agenda behind it? It's the control. And, you get the things that they create that then, there's going to be, things that we're not even aware of in it. Um, most of us, we're just starting to hear things about the meat, how they're putting hormones into the meat. But think about this, what are they putting into our own bodies? Are they putting in the vaccines of children hormones? Beyond all the metals, all the chemicals, are there hormones that they're putting in there? Are there hormones that they're putting in the milk that then, they're pushing that, all of your state help, all of that, what are the things that they supply? The cereal, um, they've got things that are approved on those plans. Milk is one of them, and whole milk in particular. What are they all tainting? And these are things that they've had control of for a long time. You have a lot of your elite, like even Biltmore, they have their own dairy, and they were huge at supplying their area with dairy. Um, and all the more important for us to get the natural. Um, but they push you what? That your milk has to go through all this refining in order for it to be good and wholesome and free from bacteria. But, do we look at all the things that they're throwing in there? How many people, how many animals, your cows drink that milk and have no problem. How many people grew up with natural, raw
Exactly.
cow's milk and had no issues for all these generations besides those that were lactose intolerant? It's like it was a natural substitute. I mean, even think of this. They use the hormones, aren't the thyroid hormones that they've got, the synthetics, those are actual hormones from animals. you know so it's like, what do they all put in our bodies? um
Yeah.
there's a lot with the hormones and the chemicals, and I would propose that this baby oil has that it's just like your adrenochrome. It's mixed with hormones and chemicals that are natural to the body that they're going to amplify. And they're doing it specifically because they want to enhance the sexual experience. At the same time, it's a form of torture. Imagine that you've got both things going on at one time. They're applying that oil. The child has the amplified sexual chemicals going through their body, but at the same time, they've got anesthetic. So they have no control. They can't do anything. And then they're going to live that horrific experience under that drug, you know, cocktail that they're given. And then they're going to not remember anything. But their body's going to know that it was traumatized. Their body's going to remember that there was something not right. They're going to emotionally and spiritually, you know, have that burden and oppression that they're carrying. And the sad thing is for these children, it's going to happen over and over and over again. So that's the sad part of it. But everything that the system does, that looks good, it's a form of godliness with that, guys, to, set things up to make them look like the heroes, make it look like they're doing good things. But really, it all is a continual cycle. The bad side causes the destruction, the devastation, the death. The good side comes in to save the day, right? How do they save the day? Oh, let's make it, where all schools have to have certain dietary restrictions. But in that, what are they really limiting? They're limiting the things that truly are healthy for these kids so they have control, right? They're going to provide, medical care, insurance, make sure all these kids get free school lunches. Well, guess what? They're doing it so your family, because your finances are limited, we're helping. That's how they want to present it. Everything is with that form of godliness and help. Yet really it's meant to continue that destructive cycle. I
Wow.
hated milk. I never drank the milk as a kid in the schools. I mean, I would sit there and gag it up, and, the same with their fluoride pills. It was like, you know,
Wow.
it was sad, it was like frustrating because it was just not good stuff. What I
Why?
indulged in was
Why?
cheddar cheese. I have to be honest.
Yes.
Living in Wisconsin, cheddar cheese was the thing, let me tell you.
So I'm wondering why Diddy and the baby oil. I mean, there's a reason they exposed that. We know by now, especially mainstream media, they are not going to let us see things they don't want us to see, right?
Right.
So why was Diddy and the baby oil, what's that a distraction or a diversion for? Do you see what I'm saying? To me, I just feel like
I
there's
think
more
it
to the
was.
story that they.
I think it gets our mind on, where it takes us is that, P. Diddy just was kind of like running this, sexual enterprise. That's where it keeps our mind.
Right.
Freak off parties, it connects with Hollywood. People think, oh, it's just all sexual. But where it doesn't allow us to go is what are the horrors of these freak offs. We don't hear them proclaiming that these freak offs contain satanic ritual or killings. We don't hear about the expendable children, what was happening. We don't hear about the torture or the cannibalism. Or, you've even got to ask if they're using anesthetic. Were they organ harvesting? Were they adrenochrome harvesting while they're doing this? They don't bring those things out, but it should be brought out because I would propose that these freak offs have vampirism even included, that the adrenochrome is going to be an active part. A lot of your witchcraft spells and incantations call for organs to be, that's why organs are so huge. It's not because you've got all these elite who need organ transplants. The truth is that they're stealing people's organs so they can use them in witchcraft and spells. Um, so I think, that's the truth of it. The other part is that they're consuming organs. Um, not just chicken livers, not just chicken gizzards, they go to human organs that they're consuming, and those that they prefer because they're small and tiny and they can get away with people believing it's just chicken, you know?
Would there be a reason they're consuming these organs? Is it just for the taste, or is there some type of energy as well that they are harnessing
Well,
every time?
energy, minerals, hormones, you get specific hormones and chemicals that I think it even gets into, at the deeper level, bonding, because when you think about that, what are some of the hormones that are high for infants that you're not going to have in other things? um those that they love, that are cared for, you're going to get a high amount of the oxytocin. Others you're not going to get, right? It's just pure dopamine. Adrenal The truth is, here's the truth, their adrenals stop, their organs and hormones stop producing the chemicals that their body naturally needs, because they use the adrenal, and um, they get it from other sources outside of their body. They get, because they do that, they have to continuously use it all the time, because if they stop, their body stops producing it, because it's getting it from an outside source. So their organs tell the body, oh, we don't need to produce it because we've got what we need. So that's why they know how much to increase. That's why they play with all of that, because they will have to continuously increase their amounts to continue to stay at the spiritual acuity that they want to be at. And if they were just to stop it, what would happen? Your body can't survive without those hormones. They have a heart attack, they'll die. Um, so,
Is there
there has to be that constant supply. And
is there a difference in whether they consume the organs raw or cooked? Because I would
they
imagine
do, the
it would be
majority are
both.
going, as hard as it is to hear, the majority consume raw, and they consume in ritual killing. So, they're going to consume, those children alive. And they want the children to know they're going to paralyze, they're going to, you know, have them have a paralyzer of some sort, no painkillers, because they want them to know that's part of the torture. They want them to know that they're dying, and they're going to consume them in front of their faces. That's part of my testimony that I've brought out. Um,
Gosh, that's hard.
you know, and
Oh,
why is this not brought out? This should be brought out. Hell, why is he just getting brought for sexual charges? Is it because they don't know the full extent? Is it because they don't have any evidence because it's all been consumed? You know, I mean, I think that this is what, if when you look at it, it's not even a criminal act per se, it's a crime against children and humanity, and this is how they've survived and lived. And then they pull it off that this is part of our religious beliefs, so it can't be brought into the court. That this is their religion, their brotherhood, their, Mason, they're Luciferian, but they can't talk about it in the court. What they do, they can do whatever the hell they want to do in their little circle groups. And because it's under their religious guise, they get away with it. But this is why I've brought out that it's a system, you know, that it's not just a religion. This is a system that they have supply, they have chain, they profit. All of that is important to understand.
Absolutely. I find it hard to believe that the powers that be wouldn't know that. The way I look at this is very simply, it's become clear to me over time, there's always a fall guy. If you look at the royal family, Andrew's kind of the fall guy, right? And it doesn't mean the others aren't pedos and what have you. So I look at this and I see Diddy as one of the fall guys, not the only one. There's a couple. And again, to expose Diddy and really put him into jail or give him the full extent of the punishment of the law, that guy's got secrets, man. He
Yeah.
knows people, he knows things, he's got stories, he's got information. He ain't going to keep quiet. You see,
He's
this is what,
coordinated it. Well, no, I think he will.
yeah.
I think that's exactly why it's only gone through as sexual things, because he has kept it quiet. I think he has kept the code of silence and protected, the brothers in his circle.
And that's why they've protected him. So
Yeah.
he would only have, he would only be exposed to a certain point and maintain some type of like face, if you will. He's protected them. And now,
Well, it's like a buy-off in the courts. It's like a
yeah,
buy-off
exactly.
to the survivors coming forward. It's like a slap in the face. They bring him in, they look at some of the dirty deeds and they say, "Oh yeah, no, you were right. Let's go ahead and make a settlement." And it's a way to appease some of the survivors and get them to shut up about the rest.
Exactly. So we really just have to keep breaking the links of this chain. It's just, one link into the next, into the next, into the next.
Yeah.
So, yeah, got to start breaking some links.
Right. Well,
Thank you,
here's some of
Jess.
the further around. We'll end with this. I encourage people to look into the furtherance of this, that not only was, the baby oil found with him, but there were reports of trains that, that there was a mass amount of baby oils being shipped on trains, transported. So what do the railroads have to do with all of that? And, how are they using that, and where are they taking it? All those mass amounts of baby oil. So, yeah, so it gets more. It's beyond P. Diddy. It gets into underground. Oh, you got to unmute. Underground military bases.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say it's so much more than P. Diddy and his freak off parties being disgusting with kids. There's much more to it. As you say, where does the oil come from? What does that oil contain? What is it truly used for? Who is truly using it? Why is it there? Why has he been caught with it? Why is he trafficking it, if you will, peddling it? Interesting. I think that's a little cover that needs to fall at some point as well. Baby oil story. Anyway, Jesse, thank you. That was super interesting, as per always. Is there anything else you would like to maybe just say in closing before you end off in prayer?
No, we'll go ahead and pray. And it's hard to, deal with some of this stuff, but we just,
Sure.
we can hear it. I just want to encourage everybody that this is stuff, we can take. We're aware of the things that have been happening with the system. We've been very prepared on this channel, so we can take it. We can wrestle with it. We can use it the knowledge of what we learn as prayer ammo. So let's do that.
Right.
Heavenly Father,
Indeed.
we just come before you. We know that there has been so many nefarious things that the enemy has done. We know that there's a guise or a form of godliness with all of the works that the enemy tries to accomplish. And Father, today we lift up that work of the baby oil, of um, our health, our food, our children in the school systems, the things that they're doing through there. And Lord, we just ask for that wedge to come down, that you would put down that wedge that says enough to the enemy, that no more, no more shall our children be as fodder to the enemy. No more shall our children be given in ritual or for ritual things or for torture or satanic purposes. And Father, we ask that the truth would be laid out plain and bare. We ask, Lord, that you would give us an awareness of how the enemy's working and where the distribution, where the supply, where the chain is happening, Lord. And we ask, Father God, that you would shut it down um, at the very manufacturing of it, Lord. Um, Cut down the enemy's supply and chain. And we ask for this in your powerful name, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you joining me. And now, as you might have noticed, I have some very impatient doves flying around my house. They're demanding to be fed. So let me go and feed the chickens.
Yes.
And I'll see you guys back in just under an hour on Solutions with Shanti, where we're going to be talking about spiritual protection. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
everybody.
We'll see you in a little bit.
Indeed. God bless you all. See you soon.